How you going, RPG fans? Tonight I'm going to talk about Suikoden 4 for the PS2. Now, with the drama of Suikoden 3, as you watched in my last video, I was assured that the series wouldn't continue on here in Australia. When I went in and I was told Suikoden 4 was coming out, I was very happy, but I was very skeptical. So I just put $10 on a pre-order, just if it didn't come out, I would have got my $10 back. But I got the call that it came in, and I literally basically busted it to my local video game store, and pray that it was out on the shelf, and there it was staring at me. I ran over to the counter, asked for the pre-order, paid the rest of the money in full, busted it as quick as I can back home, and popped it in, and I think I played it for about 8 hours straight. I was extremely excited. And you know what? I actually enjoyed this game. A lot of Suikoden fans rate this the black sheep of the series. I reckon black sheep is a very harsh term. I use black sheep if I actually didn't like the game. I actually did enjoy this, and there's a lot to enjoy about this, but it also has a lot of shortcomings, and I do agree with some of the comments people have made. Basically, the cool thing about Suikoden 4 is it takes place out at sea, which when I saw the trailer was the first basically thing that grabbed me. It was an instant seller for me because I'm a big fan of old, basically 16th century to 18th century style naval warfare. And I was very, very, very excited to play this. This game takes place 150 years before the original game. So if you actually want to play this game according to timeline, this will be the first game you play. And you take control of a young man who's a part of a naval academy wanting to become a Knight of Razaril, who's one of the island nations of where Suikoden 4 takes place. After the graduation, you become a Knight of Razaril, a Knight of Gaian. And what happens is you're sworn in to protect the nation from pirates. And you come across a pirate named Brandel who has a very unholy power, very destructive power. And you soon find out that that destructive power is the Rune of Punishment, one of the 27 true runes. When you defeat Brandel, the rune passes on to the commander of the Razaril Knights, Glenn, and he's forced to bear it. Now the thing about the Rune of Punishment is, unlike the Soul Eater from Suikoden 1 that causes great misfortune to people around the bearer, this causes some great pain and misfortune to the bearer itself. And what happens is when the pirate evasion becomes too much, the commander actually is forced to use the rune's power to drive them away, but to use the full power of the rune basically costs the bearer its life. So Commander Glenn forfeits his life when he uses the power, and unfortunately the main character witnesses this. And basically when the bearer of the Rune of Punishment dies, it's passed over to the nearest person. The main character was the only one there, so unlucky, he gets it, unfortunately. And if it wasn't bad enough, he has it now. Basically, he was the only one there with the commander's dead body, and his best friend, Snow Vingerhut, basically blames him for killing the commander, and he's condemned and sentenced to be adrift out to sea to die. One thing about Snow Vingerhut is if I did a video on the top 10 characters I absolutely hate in an RPG, Snow would be near number 1. When you see him, you just want to friggin' kill him. And the funny thing is, the game gives you plenty of chances to kill him. This is my friendly advice. Don't. Because if you do, you cannot get all the 108 stars of Destiny. You can't get the good ending. So yeah, I know that was kind of a spoiler, but I probably saved a lot of you from making a great mistake. But yeah, what happens is after your main character gets drifted out to sea, he undergoes many hardships, and then he comes to the kingdom of Oba, where he is basically hired to help protect the kingdom from an invasion from a nation called the Kuluk. And the Kuluk are the main villains of Suikoden 4, who are intent on um, basically conquering all the island nations so they can extend their empire. And basically, all the islands one by one get picked off, and the hero finds himself in a position where he basically, now he wields the true rune, has the power to drive off the Kuluk. So everyone basically follows him, and he becomes the commander of a liberation front, as always happens in a Suikoden game. And thus begins your quest to fight off the Kuluk and gather the 108 Stars of Destiny, making it a very nice Suikoden game indeed. Now, the shortcomings of this game, a little few, is the pacing of the story is questionable. Some scenes are really fantastic. Some characters are really good, but they don't get enough screen time. Like the main villain, Graham Craig, he was great. He just didn't have enough screen time to fully establish himself to, have the player have an attachment to him, or some kind of hatred. Like Luca Blight. Luca Blight was the best villain. He did so many evil things. He would make the player just want his blood, at every turn. And that was the driving force, because you want to see him finally get his. But Graham Craig didn't exactly invoke that kind of feeling as much. He was an evil bastard, don't get me wrong, but they could have done just a little bit more. And that's the thing with Suikoden 4. It's a fantastic idea. It just feels like an incomplete game, and it is a very short game. Some persons said they beat in about 15 hours. I took a bit longer. I took about 25 hours grinding and getting all the 108 Stars of Destiny. But the battles are back. There's only 4 characters, unfortunately, instead of 6. Didn't really bother me. There's still the Unite attacks, which are really, really cool. There's the rune attacks. What's really interesting is, because of, in the story, the rune of punishment causes great harm to the bearer, they translated that into combat. And when you want to cast a spell from the rune of punishment, it causes great damage, but it also causes damage to the bearer. So you're very hesitant about using it. But I always had a healer ready to heal the main character if he was going to use the rune of punishment. But I thought it was a little cool touch. The war battles were disappointing in this one. The war battles took place out at sea, with naval warfare, and at first I thought it'd be very cool, but it's very basic, like a sort of a game of chess, but less strategic. Like, you move your ship on a grid basis, and you line up your ships and fire your rune cannons. There weren't really too much to it. There was an elemental factor. This beats this, like a rock, paper, scissors kind of deal. And the emotion and the story wasn't really rife within the battles. Like in Suikoden 2, there was dialogue, halfway through the battlefield, and it became a part of the story. That's why I couldn't invest so much into the war battles. One-on-one duels are awesome in this game. The one thing that really helps out is Suikoden 4 is the first game to have voice acting, and it is really good. I really love the voice acting in this game. They did a great job. And the duels, it comes out really good because they give them some great lines to work with. And they make them, in my opinion, they're more epic than any other Suikoden game before that, but only to be beaten by one more Suikoden game, and we'll get into that tomorrow. But, like I said, I really enjoyed Suikoden 4 for many merits. And the other merit I should quickly touch on is the music. The music is fantastic. It's got 3 composers. I don't remember 2 of them, but I do remember one of them, and she is one of my all-time favorites. And that is famed composer of the Castlevania series, Michiru Yamane. And I don't know which track she did, but I can only guess. But some of the music is just amazing. My favorite track in Suikoden 4 is the Rune of Punishment, which is the theme of Suikoden 4. And it's extremely melancholic and very sad, but it basically sounds out the game in total, and it really does show the struggle of the main character wielding the Rune of Punishment. And it just was the perfect music to accompany that. Other things like the duel battle music, awesome. The actual normal battle music is very, very epic. And the town music, also adds to the experience. But yeah, it was a great soundtrack. I do prefer the other soundtracks a little bit better, but really good in my opinion. I really do like Suikoden 4, and I do recommend buying this. Is it the best Suikoden game ever made? I like the other Suikoden games better. This is actually below my list. Is this a bad game? No. Is it better than 80% of the RPGs on PS2? Absolutely. If you see this for cheap, buy it without question. It is a great game. It is a short game, but I liked it. I always compared it to Suikoden 1. Suikoden 1 is actually a short game. And I always forget it's a short game because it seems like there's so much content, but it is a short game. And I think they had Suikoden 1 in mind when they created Suikoden 4. It's apparent with a few things is sort of like the pacing of the story. The fact they got the artist who did the characters in Suikoden 1, they hired to do the characters in Suikoden 4, so that was a dead giveaway. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I really like this, and I urge everyone to give it a go. So yes, and this copy I have right here is the power copy, and it's got a very nice, I can't show in this web camera, but it's got a very nice old school rugged treasure map feel to it, and it looks awesome. I have every copy of the game. I have the Japanese copy. Unlike the power copy, it's very clear and pristine, and the American copy, which my brother got for me, is very clear and pristine like the Japanese copy, but it's got a bit more art on there. But one cool thing I really like about the power copy, and this is why it's my favourite out of the three, is that the manual is made out of the same material as the treasure maps. It's very hard and rough, and it feels fantastic, and it's got a lot of depth to it. But the main reason I really like this is the middle of the book comes with like a little fold-out poster, and on one side it says Suikoden 4, which I think is always cool, but on the other side was an advertisement for another game that Konami was releasing at the time, and that was E6 Arc on the Pishdom. And you all know how I feel about Ys. It is my second favourite series. Suikoden's my first, Ys is my second. So I always thought, when I was preparing to do my video today and went through all my stuff, I just thought that is really, really, really cool. That this manual shows my love for two series in one go. So getting the power copy is a very, very good investment if you're a collector. So that's my thoughts on Suikoden 4. I urge everyone to give it a go. I will be uploading one more video tonight, and that is on Suikoden 4's spin-off. Some cases it's a prequel to Suikoden 4, it's a side story, but ultimately it's its direct sequel, and that is Suikoden Tactics. Hope you can join me then.